In 1957, in a quiet, wooded corner of Philadelphia, a boy was found in a box. For 65 years, he didn't have a name. He was simply America's unknown child. He was a ghost, a mystery that became part of the city's identity. His face staring out from faded posters, a silent question that haunted generations. Who was he? Where did he come from? And who could do something so monstrous, then just disappear? For decades, there were no answers. The trail was ice cold. The leads were all dead ends, and the hope was just a flickering candle in a storm of passing time. But then, the impossible happened thanks to a single, fragile strand of DNA and a team of investigators who just refused to let him be forgotten. Everything changed. The silence of 65 years was finally broken. This is the complete story of the decades-long mystery of the boy in the box and the incredible science that finally gave his name, Joseph Augustus Zarelli. It's a story of a brutal crime, an investigation that became an obsession, and the simple, enduring power of a name. The story starts on a cold day in February 1957, February the 25th to be exact, in the Fox Chase neighborhood of Philadelphia. 26-year-old man named Frederick was out and about in the wooded area off the road. Why he was there depends on who you ask. Some reports say he was checking muskrat traps. Others suggest he was trying to spy on a nearby home for girls. Whatever the reason, what they found that day would stick with him for life and haunt the city for the next 6.5 decades. There, tucked in the underbrush, was a large cardboard box. He later told police he thought he saw a doll inside and creeped out. He left it alone. It was only after hearing a news report about a missing girl that he finally called the police. When officers arrived on February the 26th, they confirmed his worst fears, and then some. It wasn't a doll, and it wasn't the missing girl. Inside the box, which once held a baby bassinet from JCPenney department store, was the naked, battered body of a little boy. The scene itself was a heartbreaking puzzle. The boy was wrapped in a cheap, worn flannel blanket. He had been beaten badly. His small body was covered in bruises, a clear sign of the horrific trauma he had suffered. The official cause of death was blunt force trauma. He was also severely malnourished. Though he was estimated to be between 4 and 6 years old, he weighed only 30 pounds. His x-rays even showed signs of arrested growth. His body told a story of a short, brutal life. As Philadelphia Police Commissioner Daniel Outlaw would later say, in his very short life, it was apparent that this child experienced horrors that no one should ever be subjected to. But mixed in with all this horror were strange signs of recent care. His fingernails and toes were neatly clipped. His hair had been crudely cut, almost buzzed, so recently that clumps of his own hair were still stuck to his body. His right hand and both feet were wrinkled, a washerwoman effect that told the medical examiner his limbs had been in the water for a long time, either right before or right after he died. It looked like someone had cleaned him before putting him in the box. The initial investigation kicked off with a sense of urgency. The Philadelphia police of 1957 took the boy's fingerprints and footprints, hoping a match would pop up in their records or that a frantic parent would soon connect the dots. They were wrong. No match was ever found. No parent ever came forward. The search for his identity became a massive media effort. The Philadelphia Inquirer printed 400,000 flyers with the boy's post-mortem photo. These were plastered in police stations and post offices, and in a move that seems shocking today, they were even stuffed into every single gas bill sent to Philadelphia residents. The face of the unknown boy was everywhere. His blank stare pleading for someone, anyone, just to name him. The bassinet box itself was a huge clue. Investigators traced it to a specific J.C. Penney in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania. They believed it was one of only 12 of its kind sold there between late 1956 and early 1957 for about $7.50. But this lead too went cold. They were never able to find the person who had bought that specific box. With no missing persons report that fit, police were chasing shadows. Hundreds of tips poured in all over the country, and detectives chased down every single one. But each lead was a dead end. The boy was a ghost, existing only in the evidence he left behind: a small, bruised body, a cheap blanket, and a cardboard box. As weeks turned into months, the grim reality set in. Later, in 1957, with no name to put on the stone, he was buried in a potter's field, a public burial ground for the unknown and unclaimed. His grave was marked with a simple stone that read, "America's Unknown Child." It was the title he would carry for 65 agonizing years. The case went cold, but it was never forgotten. It became a piece of Philadelphia folklore, a dark legend that weighed on the city's conscience. For a few dedicated investigators, it wasn't just a case, it became a lifelong obsession. At the center of it all was a man named Remington Bristow, an investigator with the medical examiner's office. Bristow was there from the very beginning in 1957, and the case of the unknown boy got under his skin. He couldn't let it go. Long after his colleagues moved on, Bristow kept searching on his own time and with his own money. He spent his vacations chasing down flimsy leads, convinced that he could be the one crack it. Bristow was known to carry a plaster mold of the boy's face with him, a constant reminder of the child he was fighting for. He'd visit the boy's grave, pull weeds and leaf blowers. Some say his dedication was fueled by a personal tragedy. He had lost an infant daughter years before, and the idea of a child being buried without a name was just something he couldn't stand for. He and a few other detectives even pooled their own money to buy the boy's first proper headstone, one that read, "Heavenly Father, bless this unknown boy." Over the decades, theories swirled. The first major one centered on a foster home about a mile and a half from where the body was found. Remington Bristow chased this lead relentlessly after a psychic he consulted with pointed him that way. At an estate sale at the home, he found a bassinet similar to the one from the box and blankets that looked like the one the boy was wrapped in. Bristow theorized the boy was the legitimate child of the stepdaughter of the man who ran the home and that his death was an accident. He believed the family got rid of the body to avoid a scandal. But after multiple investigations, police ultimately cleared the family of any involvement. Another wild theory popped up in 2002 when a woman known as Martha came forward with a shocking story. She claimed her abusive mother had purchased a young boy named Jonathan from his parents in 1954. She said her mother abused the boy for years, and one night, after he threw up a meal of baked beans, they beat him to death. Martha said her mother then cut his hair, bathed him, and drove him to Fox Chase to dump his body. The details were eerily plausible. The boy's stomach had contained remnants of baked beans, and the bath could explain the wrinkled skin, but police could never verify her story. Martha had a history of severe mental illness, making her an unreliable witness, and her account ultimately led nowhere. As the years stretched on, the case was passed from one generation of detectives to the next. After Remington Bristow died in 1993, his files went to his colleague and later to Detective Tom Augustine. In 1998, they took a major step. The boy's body was exhumed. The goal was to extract DNA, technology that was pure science in 1957. He was buried in a more dignified plot in Ivy Hill Cemetery. His grave still marked America's Unknown Child, but the DNA tech of the late 1990s wasn't advanced enough. profile was created, but it didn't lead to any matches. The silence continued. A group of volunteer forensic experts who tackle cold cases also took on the investigation, making sure the boy was never just a file in a drawer. For 65 years, the question remained, who was he? Why had no one, not a parent, sibling, aunt, uncle, or friend, ever reported him missing? It seemed the boy in the box was destined to remain America's unknown child forever. This case is a testament to the investigators who refused to give up, even when it seemed hopeless. Their dedication is the reason this story has a new chapter. If you want to hear how they finally broke through that wall of science, and you want more stories of incredible investigative work, take a moment to subscribe. It helps us to continue bringing these important stories right. For decades, this was a story of human dedication, but the final chapter would be written by science. The turning point came on April 24th, 2019, when investigators got a court order to exhume the boy's remains for a second time. DNA science had leaped forward since the first attempt in 1998. This time, they hoped even the most degraded genetic material could finally tell them his name. It wasn't easy. The DNA was 65 years old. One of the lead genealogists, Dr. Colin Fitzpatrick, described it as being like confetti, shattered into tiny, fragmented pieces. It took the team at Identifies International, the forensic genealogy company, working with the police 2.5 long years just to piece together a usable DNA profile. Dr. Fitzpatrick compared it to solving a massive Sudoku puzzle. They had to network all the tiny pieces of genetic code together until the missing piece, the boy's identity, emerged from the data. With a viable DNA profile finally built, the modern search began. The profile was uploaded into a public database like GED Match, and this is where modern genealogy becomes high-tech detective work. They weren't looking for a perfect match, but for relatives, distant cousins who had voluntarily uploaded their own DNA. The first break came from the maternal side. The database flagged a match to a second cousin once removed. That single connection was the first real thread investigators had to pull in over 6 decades. From that one relative, the genealogists started building out a massive family tree, working backward through generations to find common ancestors, then building forward again to trace every single branch. Eventually, they identified cousins on both his mother's and father's sides. Investigators then took this research and combined it with old-fashioned police work. They identified a woman they believed was the boy's mother and got a court order for her birth records, looking for any children born between 1944 and 1956. The search returned a birth certificate for a male child born on January 13, 1953. The age was a perfect match. The certificate also listed the father's name. The team traced the paternal line, and DNA confirmed it. They now had names for both his parents, and most importantly, they had the name from the birth certificate. After 65 years, 9 months, and 8 days, America's unknown child was unknown no more. His name was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. The identification was actually made in October 2021, over a year before the public announcement. That time was spent triple-checking every detail and notifying living family members. Finally, on December the 8th of 2022, the Philadelphia police held a press conference that sent a shockwave around the world. They officially announced the name that generations of detectives had longed to speak: Joseph Augustus Zarelli. When people think about the boy in the box, said Commissioner Daniel Outlaw, a profound sadness is felt, not just because a child was murdered, but because his entire identity and his rightful claim to his own existence was taken away. With the announcement of his name, a piece of that existence was finally given back. Finding Joseph Augustus Zarelli's name was a historic resolution to a 65-year-old question. but it didn't solve the whole mystery. It answered who he was, but not why he died or who did it. Here's what we know. Joseph was born on January 13th, 1953. He was just 4 years old when he died. He lived with his family in a West Philadelphia neighborhood near 61st and Market Streets. This was a huge detail for investigators because it was about 15 miles from the wooded area where his body was dumped, a clear attempt to distance the crime from the killer's home. Police confirmed that both Joseph's biological parents were deceased and their names had not been officially released to protect the privacy of the living relatives. We also learned that Joseph was not an only child. He has living half-siblings on his mother's and father's side. After 65 years of assuming this boy was all alone in the world, the discovery that he had a family, that he had siblings still alive, was both stunning and heartbreaking. Giving Joseph his name back was a profound moment of closure for the city that had adopted him. His death certificate was officially amended. The gravestone at Ivy Hill Cemetery, which for decades had been a symbol of his anonymity, was replaced on what would have been his 70th birthday, January the 13th, 2023. A new headstone was unveiled, finally engraved with his name, Joseph Augustus Zarelli. The boy in the box was home. But the identification instantly changed the case. For 65 years, it was a mystery. Now, it's an active homicide investigation. Police have said they have their suspicions about who might have been responsible for Joseph's death. They're keeping those details quiet. The challenge is immense. Crime happened so long ago, potential witnesses have likely passed away. After the announcement, tips were not pouring in the way investigators had hoped, which was disappointing, but not entirely surprising, given how much time had passed. The trail for the killer has gone cold again, but it hasn't been abandoned. $20,000 reward for information is still active. Homicide investigators are holding out hope that someone, maybe in their late 70s or 80s, might remember something. A family, a little boy, whispers in the neighborhood back in 1957. The hope is that giving Joseph his name will unlock a memory that leads to justice. The question has changed from who are you to who did this to you? And while the person responsible may very well be gone, the search for an answer continues. The case of the boy in the box is a story that spans generations. For 65 years, he was a symbol of the ultimate failure of a society to protect its most vulnerable. But this story's new beginning is a testament to something else entirely: the relentless pursuit of justice and the refusal to let a lost child be forgotten. Investigators like Remington Bristow, who dedicated their lives to this case, didn't get to see this day, but their work laid the foundation. They kept the memory alive, and in the end, modern science, in the hands of a new generation of brilliant and dedicated genealogists, did what was once thought impossible. They gave him back his name. The mystery isn't completely solved. A killer or killers got away with a horrific crime. But he is no longer America's unknown child. He is Joseph. He has a family, a birthday, a place in history. His story offers hope that no case is ever truly cold and that no one is ever truly forgotten. The fight for Joseph is not over. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey. If you have any information about the murder of Joseph Augustus Zarelli, please contact the Philadelphia Police Department. And if you found this story as compelling as we did, please consider subscribing and sharing your thoughts below. Every story is remembered and a step towards justice. I'm Matt Cochran, and this is The Dark Room.